to your point about being busy, you just have to be ultra selective.
Totally.
And you have to be like, so it works for us because we're Virgos, so we're very like direct. Mm-hmm. So that person has to respond well to
our directness.
Yes.
Welcome to Stop Whining About Real Estate. Join us as we chat, sip, banter, and wine with the best in the biz. Grab a glass of your favorite vino, sit back, relax, and let's wine together. Well, welcome to our show. This is Stop Whining About Real Estate. I'm with my co-host, Emmanuel St. Germain. I am Sarah Biernbaum, and we are here with Rachel Sobel. She is also podcast host of Friends Without Benefits, which I found was super cool. So I can't wait to dive in. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Out there? I thought it was Friends with Benefits.
No, without.
I am not prepped then. Hold on. Time out.
That's it. I'm leaving. This place is ridiculous. Nobody knows what they're doing
without the benefits.
And I'm taking the Nutter Butter with me. My background's actually not in any of the things I'm doing right now. Well, it's not really true. It translates, I guess. But I have a 20-plus year career in tech PR.
Okay.
Loved it, was really good at it. And then I had a baby. I went through a divorce and I burnt out. And I just could not be at happy hours anymore. And I couldn't be traveling, across the country to be with clients, launching startups. I just couldn't do it anymore. I was just done. Came down here after my divorce, got a job briefly doing PR in-house. Hated it, and I realized I am not meant to work for anybody. I need to do my own thing. I have a writing background, and I basically took every single freelancing job that I could get and every old client that came to me until I could cobble together enough to match my salary. And once I did that, my husband and I had like a sit down because I'd gotten remarried by that point, and he was like, "You're making probably, more money than you were then, so let's do it." And I quit, and it was like the best moment of my life. And I never looked back. And the next thing I knew, I started getting published in parenting type outlets like Scary Mommy, which is like the mothership of all mommy bloggers back in the day. HuffPost, I had a relationship with them for a while, Pop Sugar. So a lot of the big names that all the people who were writing about marriage and divorce and parenting were landing stuff. And it just kept evolving. And then I started the podcast with my friend Dale, who is my platonic friend for 30 plus years, never a slip up.
So work husband.
My work husband, I call him my pod husband.
Okay.
But I met him when I was 14. Mm-hmm. So we have a very long history and a really good banter. And we decided to talk about all the things we talk about in real life, but record it. And we're on, I think, 75 episodes or something now. Season 3 we're on now. And we actually record in multi-million-dollar homes. So it's kind of like a little niche that happened by accident on purpose, if that makes sense. Because I connected with an old realtor friend of mine, and she's like, "We should work together." I'm like, "Do you want to house us and sponsor our podcast?" And she was like, "Okay." And then it was easy. And it's amazing because Dale and I think at our core are both homebodies. We're both super out there and extroverted. He's the in-arena host for the Miami Heat. He works for all the local sports teams here, runs an entertainment company. He's like bar and bat mitzvah royalty down here.
So he's bored.
So he's really bored. He has nothing to do. And I'm a homebody. I'm with my kids and with my husband. I don't really like to talk to people unless I know that it's going to be like a mutual conversation where everyone is going to contribute and I'm not like putting on a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so everything kind of just fell into place that way as I went further along in my career. Now I'm pitching a book, and my dream for the rest of my life is just to write. I just want to write.
I love that.
That's all I want to do. Yeah.
Very
I love
cool.
it.
You said you came down, I'm going to guess New York.
Yeah, well, I'm just like everyone else here. I was born in New York, but moved down here very young. I was 3. I was raised down here, but south in Aventura.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And then in my first life, in my first marriage, was all over the Northeast, Boston, New York. So I was away for about 10 or 11 years.
What did you like better, Boston or New York?
So I love New York. To me, is like there is nothing like New York. New York is unmatched energy. Boston is much more manageable. The thing I noticed about Boston,
it's small.
So I'm
easy.
Jewish. Mm-hmm. I was the only Jewish person in my friend group because everyone's Italian and Irish and whatever, which is fine. I don't care. But it was really funny seeing the other side growing up in a very heavily Jewish area, whether it was New York or Aventura or whatever, and then being like the token Jew and having people be like, oh, do you know Josh like Berger? And I'm like, I don't know. Why would I know him? And they're like, oh, he went to sleepaway camp in Florida. And I'm like, so do you just think like we all know each other? And then I'm like, oh my God, I do know him. Like,
I was just going to say that you probably did know him.
I'm like, I do know him. But you know, Boston will always be a very special place to me. I love the city in general, and my first baby was born there. And so I have a lot of really like high emotion milestone memories there. And I will spend time in either place, like not even a question. I don't know if I could pick one over the other. I have a more emotional tie to Boston.
Very cool.
That baby tie.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us a little bit about the podcast. I want to hear more about this. I think so let's talk about some of the challenges. So it's not the same location.
No.
So these are constantly ever changing houses,
Yes.
right?
And we sold the first 3 that we recorded in.
Gotcha. So are you saying, is it like what's the length of the show? Is it like
when
a
we
radio
listen
show
to
when you're doing it, or is it a
weekly
podcast?
until it sells?
So we record a few episodes at a time. We do packages. So we usually record in the same place for about 4 episodes.
Okay.
And typically in our track record, after each package, the house has sold.
Wow.
But the realtor we work with is great too, because she does an amazing job marketing. So
one person all the time?
Well, she works for a brokerage, but it is the same person that works with us.
So this is her strategy.
This is her strategy. She came up with it 100%.
Good for her.
And she's very creative,
Out of the box.
incredibly
I like it.
creative. She's a photographer. She's one of those people she's amazing, Courtney. And she is just really good at marketing it. So she's all over social media using clips of the home and us in it. And then she's all over her newsletter sharing stuff. So I think all of us working together, since we kind of all have a different little wheelhouse, have been able to combine it to maximize our reach and exposure and all that stuff. I'm sorry, my children keep calling me because they're off school and they don't care that I work.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm just letting you know. They don't. That's my 16-year-old. It's probably going to happen 10 more times. Yep. And it's probably her asking me to bring her cereal
100%.
From the other room.
Mine just texted me, can I order her Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm at work.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
Yeah. These kids, DoorDash. It's like, so just DoorDash it. Okay.
No.
Anyway, so it's been a really cool ride doing it that way. And we've always done on location. We've never recorded in a studio. Before the houses, we were recording in bars and restaurants, which was really fun.
Okay.
Loud.
What about, I was going to say, because it sounds fun, but I would think sound quality would certainly be, an issue.
Yeah. So the only time we really had that was we tried to do a couple of the bars like prime time because we were trying to also have an audience. And it was amazing, but the sound quality definitely suffered. So we stopped doing that as much and really went to bars when they were closed instead and recorded without a crowd there. And that was fun too. But I think Dale and I are kind of all over the place in every aspect of our lives. So we can't just sit somewhere. Like we have to see different things, talk to different people. We've had guests a couple of times, but I think it's hard because Dale and I suck up all the air in the room because we just are on a rhythm. So it's hard, I think.
Well, if you ever want to film in a sports bar, I own one in Delray.
Oh, do you? Which one?
It's called Bounce.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Gigantic TV. We could put something really cool behind it.
Well, Dale and I would fight about what team was on TV because we are rivals.
I wouldn't put a team. I would.
Oh, like an image.
No, put the house.
Oh, yeah.
It's a 4-screen. You could put
Very
4
cool.
images of the house, so that's your constant background.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been fun. I'm a voyeur, so I like to see the insides of people's homes.
Yeah.
It's awesome when they're not lived in, but it's even better when they're lived in because you're like walking by and like,
that's a really
I wonder what's in the medicine cabinet. Yes. But it's really, also I became a first-time homeowner 10 years ago, and that in itself is a marathon, not a sprint. And so seeing all these homes and things that people have done, I make my husband crazy because I'm like, so I saw this house and they had a bar in the bedroom, like in a little waiting area. He's like, that's great. So it is, I think as a middle-aged woman, it's fun to be in other people's homes and kind of see what people do and what designers do. And it's been interesting from a bunch of different angles.
I have a question. So you don't typically have guests on. It's just the two of you.
We've done it a couple of times, and it's been great. We don't have anything against it, but I think that our back and forth is so specific that it's hard because sometimes the guests don't match that energy.
And then they just kind of feel
and
left
then
out.
it makes it awkward. So the guests we've had on have mostly been people that we know in real life, that we already know it's going to be a good fit.
flow.
And they're going to speak to whatever topic it is that we're talking about. But it's not a business podcast, so it's not so easy for us.
It's just hanging out and talking.
It's a lifestyle
so then how do you pick what
podcast.
you guys are going to talk about that day?
What's that?
How do you pick the topic for the day?
So I am very type A. And I used to like to make a list of like all the things, and I would text it to him and be like, what do you think of these? And he is not type A. We are like total opposites. And he's like, stop sending me lists. We're just going to wing it. You can make your list, and I'm going to make my list, but I don't want us to talk about it beforehand because I want it to be natural and us to be surprised. And it works. I mean, it really does. It works. Yeah. I mean, I think that when you're in any kind of field or industry where you're dealing with people, you have to be able to think on your feet, but you also have to be able to follow a script, right? So I don't think we could ever be scripted, ever. We use a lot of sound effects. We make Janine laugh a lot. You hear my mom's always like, Janine's laugh in the back is my favorite part because it's the best. She just can't handle you guys. We go off on the rails a lot. There's nothing that's off limits.
That's what makes it good.
That's what makes it good. And he's a good sport too because I'm married. So like, not that there's things I can't talk about, but I'm not dating. So I don't have those stories anymore. He's still actively dating. And so he's a really good sport about sharing his experiences. And so it does become a lot about his dates and us dissecting them and stuff like that. But it's been a good time.
I love that.
Yeah.
You guys probably come up with like code names for certain people.
Oh, yeah.
And like,
yeah.
Oh, that's got to be awesome. So
yeah.
it's like
we have the vegan.
two best friends hanging out.
Yeah. We have the vegan, the over-texter. I mean, we have so many.
Oh,
yeah.
I know the nicknames that we come up with, my girlfriends and I. Like, I recently am separated, but I've had girlfriends that have been single for a long time. And I don't even know that anybody's real name became known to
It's more fun that way.
Yeah.
And then you know exactly who you're talking about.
Absolutely.
You're like, Mike, who's Mike? I don't know who that is. It's the guy that chewed with his mouth open. Oh, the mouth chewer. Like you have to have. Yes.
Totally.
I mean, I think we do the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's like crazy 2, crazy 3.
That's not original. You gotta have a specific thing that is really like over the top, I think.
So do you guys have people that are looking at the house, ever in the house while you're shooting?
We have had that happen. We have tried to make it so that we do open houses, because I feel like that would be a really cool thing to do, to have us live at an open house. It just hasn't worked out timing-wise because our schedules, it's 4 of us, Janine and Courtney and Dale and I coordinating schedules. And so sometimes things happen a little more last minute. But yeah, there have been people walking through sometimes, or like the developer will bring someone in to walk around. And yeah, we're like, hi. Or like sometimes we've recorded at places on the water. Most of the places have been on the water that have like boat slips in the back, and strangers will like get off boats and like look and start looking in the house, and we're like, what's happening? Yeah. So,
but are you recording? It's not live.
It's not live.
All right, I was going to say, because last thing you want is to interview someone like, this house. Let me tell you what's wrong with it.
Right? Can you imagine?
They go down a whole warpath.
No, not live, but we don't edit either. Janine puts in sound effects and stuff sometimes after the fact, but we're also very good about whatever we put out there is what we put out there. We don't want it to be cleaned up. We don't want it to be edited. We have real conversations, and I think there's been once or twice in the years we've been doing this where we have taken something out that we thought would maybe get us canceled. We're like, maybe we should remove that. It's not worth the laughs. So, but we never live. A lot of social media content, though. We take a lot of stuff for reels and videos during.
So I've seen some of the podcasts, and then I've seen your social media. How do you come up with content for the social media part that's like just you? Like
my Instagram pages.
Is it something that you plan out? Is it no? It's all on the whim.
No, it's all on. I tried to plan in the past. I've tried to like be on a schedule. I don't like using schedulers. I don't like using third-party apps. I'm a little bit of a control freak with that stuff because I don't trust it's always going to go
the way it's supposed to. And then I'll lose 3 paragraphs I just wrote. So like I want to write it and post it in that moment. I also feel like the whole thing about my personal brand on Instagram is the authenticity. Mm-hmm.
And so If I'm sitting there and I'm using a dermaplane to shave my face because that's what women have to do, then I'm like, right, exactly. So if I'm
It's a Duraflame.
a dermaplane, it's like a blade. It's like we're just like you. We shave our faces too. You just don't know about it.
Remember, like back in not you, but like back in the day, men would go and like it'd be a blade,
like a straight blade,
like a straight blade,
Yeah.
face shaved. So
That's how you shave your mustache?
So women do that now, and like you can go to a salon and they'll do it for you, or you can do it at home. And now they sell like this spray. That
it's amazing. So I did that,
and it shows all your little peach fuzz, and you shave it off. So it's twofold. It's hair, but it's also like dead skin and getting rid of stuff.
Yeah,
so that
it makes your skin glowy and healthy.
You guys do so much stuff.
So like I will.
Welcome.
Yeah, I will. I remember very.
Not me. You guys judge each other more than men judge you.
I don't think we're doing it for each other. I'm not shaving my face for her. I'm doing it because I don't want anyone to look at me sideways and see that and be like,
or
did
like
you see
when
that
your
she had?
CEO looks over you and says, "Is that what you do to your mustache?"
Right.
Oh, totally.
Correct. Exactly.
Got it.
Well played. Yeah.
Well, in this room, it's a little bit different dynamics, but
yeah, I think
so. Your channel your medium is Instagram. Just Instagram? Or are you doing are you posting along?
No,
any of the
I
other
have.
stuff?
So Instagram and Facebook are cross-posted. My audience is significantly bigger on Instagram, but it's still pretty big on Facebook. And then I try really hard to do TikTok because I know that's like the thing to do.
It's going away. Can we just?
I don't think it's going away. I think it'll never go away. I don't know. I think that TikTok actually can be really fun, but I don't put nearly the focus into building it the way that I built my other two platforms because I feel like at this age and where I am in my career, it's there. It's nice to have. I'll use it. But to me,
what are you doing with the platform, though? Does it generate leads, clients? Is there money from it?
So a lot of them, the stuff that has mostly been generated from social are for the writing opportunities and speaking opportunities.
Okay.
So I've been asked to speak at events or conferences or things like that based on stuff that I've either written about or talked about on my channels. I've been asked to contribute to articles. I've had essays published in 2 books based on things I've talked about. And a lot of times if I'm on podcasts, which happens often, they pull a lot of stuff from my channel to like ask me about. So it's kind of, I think everything feeds everything. But the challenge for me is because I write about parenting a lot, I'm not comfortable showing my kids, really. I think it's really irresponsible to create a digital footprint for your kids when they are minors and have no idea what impact that's going to have on them. I didn't always feel like that. Like in the beginning, I was like every motherhood content creator posting all these cute pictures and photos. And then I was like, this is kind of creepy. Like with AI and all that stuff out here, this is going to fall into like the wrong hands of people. And I got really weirded out and I just stopped doing it. Like every once in a while, they'll be in my stories. I did post a TikTok the other day with my teenager for a trend, but I feel like she's old enough to make those decisions a little bit more. But that's the challenging part about writing about motherhood and parenting. I'm not really showing my kids purposely, but.
So let's go down that path because I think that's an interesting topic. Let's talk about social media and kids. Mm-hmm. So, all right, number one, so you have a 16-year-old, you said, right? So 16-year-old allowed to have social media. Does she use it? At what age do your kids have social media?
Mm-mm.
How old are your kids?
Younger. So 7 and 11.
Oh, yeah. No, they should not have social media.
Yeah.
So,
and then, the other question I was going to ask is, do you monitor it?
I think that kids do much better. My kids do much better with natural consequences. So, like, I can tell them something 10 times, and they're like, okay, Mom. But then,
burn themselves
right, if they make a mistake and it's not me coming down to them, they're like, oh, shit. And then it strikes a chord, right? So I feel like, unfortunately, that's a little bit how social media is because here's the reality, and I've seen this. We gave my 16-year-old social media, I think 13 is the age you're allowed to sign up legitimately for like TikTok and all those things. I think at 13, we gave it to her and we only gave it to her. We were the last ones to give in because she was doing cheer or something at the time and the coach was posting notes and choreography and all this stuff. So I was like, well, what are we supposed to do now? We can't be that problem going to the teacher when literally every other kid has not complained and then we're the problem. So we have to now make the decision that we're going to give it to her and we're going to teach her how to use it responsibly because social media is not going anywhere. There's only going to be a new app every week. These kids are going to be on it whether you want them or not. And I can tell you firsthand that my kids' friends, her peers, whose parents do not let them have social media, Every single one of them has social
100%.
media. They have hidden accounts on people's phones, or they have a secret folder on their phone. So
But isn't that the most dangerous part, though? When we were kids, if you were bullied, or if you just anything that can happen to. So let's like keeping it somewhat like I don't mean anything awful bad from happening, but like just a bullying aspect. And kids can be mean to each other and the stuff they say. The difference is that you had to do it face to face when we were all kids.
Right.
And it ended after school.
Right.
That's the biggest difference.
Right. It wasn't perpetuated.
At 2:30 when you're done with school, you get to go home and then you get peace, right? You go home, you have your family, whatever, you do your thing, you go to dance, baseball, soccer, whatever. Here, because it's in your hand and it doesn't shut down, it can go on all day, every day.
Yeah, good point.
And there's no break from it.
There's no
it's
break.
not just an attack at school, it's an attack on you as a person.
The secret account, though, is the part that would bother me more, though.
Right.
Because, again, like if your daughter said something to my daughter, all of a sudden, like we as parents can say, hey, Rachel, like, look what, you're
to a certain age.
No, agreed, but I'm just
getting... At 16, you can no longer really jump in there.
At 16, if you're getting...
I can. 11 years old, I could.
I want to actually say at 14 or 15, if you're I feel like middle school...
Imagine if it was inappropriate. Absolutely not. If I have a daughter and you have a son and your son sends a dick pic to my daughter... Then you're going to be on
the phone, and I'm not saying this to be funny, every week. Every week.
Not a problem.
I would rather, but it doesn't.
You watch.
But it doesn't stop anything because this is something that I have been where you have been. No, I have been where you have been. I have been there.
When we say secret account, it's not just like, oh, they're hiding it from you. It's a calculator on their phone that they type a certain code into.
Correct.
And once the calculator opens up, that's their Instagram page. You wouldn't even find the Instagram on their phone as an Instagram app.
Right. And
that's how far this goes.
Right. Right. And here's how I feel about it. We all, I don't know how old you guys are. I'm Gen X, okay? I did not grow up with a cell phone. I did not grow up with a portable phone. We had a landline. Yeah. And then, I think in the 80s, we got, the big, giant brick phone that we were not allowed to use in the car because it was for emergencies only.
Expensive.
And that was it, right? I got my first cell phone my sophomore year of college. I had a pager before that where I had to pull over and use a payphone to call someone back. Didn't have navigation, none of that. The thing that we all keep forgetting, and it's not an excuse, but it is a very real thing, is that our kids have only ever grown up with phones and screens. So it's not their fault. They don't know any different. In school, my daughter doesn't have books in high school. Everything's on the iPad and computers. My 7-year-old, they're on Google Classroom, whatever. So these kids are being educated digitally. That is just a fact. Their social lives are digital. That is a fact. Even if they're not using TikTok or Snapchat or whatever it is that they're using to have fun outside of being with their friends, guess what they're all doing when they're together to sleepover?
They're all on their phones.
They're on their phones because that is the same way that we played Nintendo and let's not all be elitist about it. I was in chat rooms on AOL.
I was.
Okay? Chatting with I
swear I wasn't.
So
But my parents made sure the computer was near the kitchen so they could see.
But you were, but they didn't know when people are ASL and you're I'm 23, I live in California. Yep. You know what I mean? So my mom always reminds me and she puts me in check and it's really good because my mom and I are tight and she's an amazing mother. Always was, still is. She always says to me, you get so nervous and upset when your kids come home and tell you something that has happened, but you did all the same stuff. You did it all. It was just different vehicles. Did you try cigarettes when you were 16? I go, yeah. She goes, okay, so now kids try vapes. It's not okay, but it's the same thing that you guys all did as teenagers, and your job is to parent them through it and make it a teachable moment.
That part's all great. I have no problem with a kid trying to smoke, kid trying to drink.
Drinking booze from out in the
field.
For
me, it's the part where it's I don't know, the piece where I find it really dangerous with technology, with phones, and I don't have kids, so I'm not trying to say...
Well, then you don't get to say anything.
I'm not trying to say it's from an elitist standpoint.
We do this all the time.
For me, it's about, I don't know, it's just the phone tracking, all the hidden items that they can do. You can do a lot of damage with a phone.
Yeah.
100%.
You can weaponize a phone, seriously, but it's not going anywhere. So you can't...
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Right, so you can't keep it.
Do you not give your kid a phone who could use it to call you or text you. Like, I connect with Julia via her phone because she texts me or she calls me or she's at camp and she's like, hey, by the way, can you come grab me earlier because I don't want to stay for aftercare or whatever the case is. And like, granted, back in the day when we were kids, we didn't have that. You would call your parent or the camp counselor would call your parent.
Right.
But like, the camp counselor is not going to call you because they're just like, call your parent yourself. Like, everybody is just so conditioned to everybody having their own phone that for a lot of things, it's really convenient for her to have her phone. When she's on Roblox or whatever, and I go, hey, you can communicate with people on this. How are you chatting with these people and who are these people? And she's like, oh. And I'm like, let me see the phone. Because then I want to see who she's chatting with. And then you can put some parent restrictions on it and like you can do some stuff to kind of navigate through it. But it's not 100%, safe, but at least doing some of the things. It's just, honestly, I think, and I'm not at the age that you are, but I think having conversations and making it not scary for them to come to you.
Yeah.
Making them not so scared to come to you for just random conversations that they just want to share. Then I can pick up clues and I can kind of ask more questions and probe. But I want them to feel like they can come to me and just tell me about what's going on. And I know that that's not going to last forever. And I'm sure there's going to be a time where they are.
I want to tell you something though. But it does last. And I'm living proof of it because from the time my older daughter was 11, I was like, you can tell me anything. And it would get to the point where she'd be like, I know, she would get so annoyed with me. But guess what? She tells me everything. But the reason she keeps telling me is because even though my soul wants to crawl out of my body when I hear some of the things that come out of her mouth.
What's your reaction to her?
I feel so much better that I know what she's saying. I know how to help her navigate it. And then she'll follow up and like she feels good, I feel good, and it's a good situation. But you have to, as a parent, whether it's the phone, social media, social stuff at school, you're doing your kid a disservice, in my opinion, if you just tell them to figure it out. Right? Like if you're just like, sorry, I can't help you. Like there are a lot of conversations I did not want to have with my daughter about very personal things, that she felt like she needed to discuss because it made me uncomfortable. You have to get over your own discomfort so that your kid is comfortable coming to you so that when they are old enough to have to navigate these things, you've given them the tools. And part of that is teaching them to responsibly use social media. Does it mean they're not going to make mistakes? Of course not. Imagine if we all had social media.
We would, yeah.
If I had social media in college, I would not have been employed. Okay? Because we were all out drinking. I went to University of Florida. It was a party school. Like we all were doing all the things.
All the things.
So thank God we didn't have social media. These kids don't know any different other than being in the spotlight on social media, and they act accordingly. So some things aren't a big deal to them. They don't care if they're not wearing an appropriate outfit on social. Like these aren't things that even cross their mind because they know what they know. Yeah. So if you want them to be successful on social media with some mistakes along the way, they're inevitable, you have to be involved.
And keep the conversation.
But not a helicopter.
Yeah.
I think in the beginning, you monitor.
Yeah.
I did. I monitored her text. I monitored her social. And then I started to like step back a little bit. And I was like, you know what? You let me know if you need me. Mm-hmm. If there's something you need help with. And I think that because I gave her that independence, then she did. She's like, hey, I got this text. It's really mean. I don't know what to say back. How do I do this? What should I write? And we would talk about it. I don't think that would have happened if I was so strict and crazy with social media and not allowing her to have stuff versus allowing her to have it and ushering her through it.
And I also think that you saying you can come to me with anything and talk to me about anything, but also managing your reaction to her is huge. And that changes everything rather than saying, come to me with anything. And then they do. And then you're like, you're grounded immediately. And I don't want to talk about anything anymore. You know what I mean? So I think that's the biggest piece of it is just really being able to stick true to that and like go cry in the room by yourself when you're done with the conversation and be like, oh.
Are you able to manage your facial expressions when they say something to you?
Now I don't because my daughter and I, I have a very different relationship with both of my kids. Obviously, I love them both equally. Obviously, we're all close. But my 16-year-old, when her dad and I got divorced, it was just her and I for 6 years. So we really developed a very, very tight, bond. Maybe codependent bond a little bit. And I think that we talked more openly about things than some mothers and daughters her age did because there were a lot of tough things going on that she had questions about. And I didn't want to ever make her feel like she couldn't ask me anything. So in the beginning, I think I reeled myself in. But now, oh, look, that's her again. But now she'll look at me and I'll make that face and she'll be like, do you want me to tell you or not? And I'm like, yes, you're right. And I,
tell me, I've got it. I'm good. I
fix my face and I do it and we get through it. But it's not easy. I mean, especially as they get older. I mean, you remember when I was dating when I was 16, I had a boyfriend. I had a full-fledged serious boyfriend.
Same.
So like, I have to remind myself this is nothing I haven't gone through.
Yeah.
And like my husband tells me now, he's like,
But
all
did you
these.
say, did you talk about, like, that was hush-hush when I was growing
What?
up. We didn't talk to our moms. I mean, a boy didn't talk to his mom about having sex with another girl.
I don't know. No, boys know, but girls, I think a lot do. I mean, my friends and we had very cool parents. I have very cool parents.
I did too.
It is not lost
I love
on
the
me.
honesty piece.
I don't think
I'm
it
in
was
full
so much
agreement.
always your parent either. Because, like, I didn't talk to my mom so much about that stuff. My mom and I were very different and didn't have that kind of, like, just natural bond. But I had friends, like my girlfriends that had moms that I was really, really close to. And so I kind of leaned on them for that kind of stuff. And it wasn't like putting them in a weird spot. It was more just like,
Well, you don't overstep, but you can.
yeah, I
you
was
can,
just like, hey, I want to talk to you about something. And I would kind of open up to them. And I don't know if they went back and told my parents of like, hey, Sarah mentioned this to me, just so you're in the loop or whatever. But, and I'll never know. But, you know, I had adult women that were moms in my life that were a friend's parent or whatever, or an aunt or something that I would kind of confide in and talk to.
Yeah.
So it was still the same effect of
Yeah.
talking to an adult that, you know, had my best interest at heart, that was going to lead me in the right direction.
Well, it's interesting to see it as a parent because I grew up in the house where my mom was that mom, right? My mom was my house was the hangout house. My mom was schlepping us constantly, dropping us off. My mom didn't care if we stayed up and had a sleepover. She was very good like that, and my friends loved her. So my friends still to this day, my best friend has a very strong relationship with my mother.
So your mom would have been the mom that I would have gone to. Yeah.
And now I see being raised like that,
You're the mom.
I'm the mom like that. And what's really amazing is not just the fact that there are her friends who trust me to have conversations. It's her seeing it, realizing that there are peers that she has that don't have that with their parents. And then there have been times where she said to me, I'm really lucky and thank you for being such a good mom because it's not just to me, but it's to my friends. And like, that makes me feel like I'm winning the lottery because all these things that make me uncomfortable, right? Where I literally want to like leave my body and mentally check out. I have a kid who trusts me and she's not going to tell me everything. Teenagers have secrets, but I feel pretty confident that like if there's something major in her life, good or bad, I am checked into it and I can get her through it. And that's a big deal to me. Yeah.
That's a great
you're
compliment.
winning.
Yeah.
If I was Mark Zuckerberg, what would you tell me as advice of how to make the platforms better?
It's such a loaded question. So a couple different things. I think if we're talking about from the creator perspective, like people who are having their livelihood and monetizing on social media, I think AI is controlling way too much and we're not getting support and help when things go really awry. I've had friends lose their accounts because of hackers. I've had I'm talking with hundreds of thousands of followers, their account's gone. Facebook is like, sorry. Like, so I think there's way too many bots, AI, all the things that are not human that are taking over a little bit, that are causing a lot of issues for creators. And I also think that I don't know what is happening with like filtering information, but like I can see if my kid is on Facebook, there is stuff in her algorithm that should not be there, that is very clearly either violent or whatever and should not be there. And her real age is on there. So there's no reason stuff like that should be there. I don't think they're doing a good job managing content.
For children.
Yeah. And listen, children shouldn't be on Facebook, right? But teenagers will be on Facebook. Not as much because they think it's for old people.
They do.
They really do. But like sometimes they want it just to have it. But I don't think they do a good job. I think Instagram is doing a phenomenal job right now, even though it's the same company. They are so different. I just went to an Instagram event for parents, and they just rolled out a whole thing, a family center on how to keep your teenager safe on social media and different things and filters that you can use, which is amazing. Are there loopholes? Of course. Could kids find ways? Yes. But just the fact that they're being socially responsible enough to say, hey, we hear you. Let's try this and see if it works. Instagram is great with it. Facebook does nothing like that.
But I think like anything else, if there's a kid that's going to find the loophole to stuff, they're going to find the loophole of stuff to everything. Correct. There's going to be kids that don't necessarily want to or care to find the loophole. They're just good with what it is.
Yep.
And so like then that's where that plus comes in. It's like, okay, well, we can manage this for this many people because they're not going to go above and beyond to find the loophole.
Yeah.
The people that are going to find, I found loopholes and stuff, but I was going to find the loophole anyway.
That's a teenager thing to do, right? I mean, that's a rite of passage. And I think, too, like with the sex stuff and the drugs and all these things that maybe your parents didn't talk about with you, I honestly think that's why there are so many, mostly Gen X, not so much with millennials, because I think they had it a little bit easier. But there's a lot of Gen X who feel a lot of shame around those things and about talking about those things. I don't ever want my kids to be ashamed, whether it's asking me a question, admitting they've done something. Like, I want them to own who they are. I want them to own the experiences, learn from it, clean up mistakes where they can, and make better choices moving forward. If all that stuff stays hush-hush like it was from the 50s on, our kids are going to grow up repressed in a lot of ways, not feeling like they can be themselves. And I think it's our job as parents to kind of help them navigate all of these things. They're going to see it. Like I always laugh when I have friends who get bent out of shape because their kids curse, right? Do you think that your house is the only place that your kids are hearing people curse? Guess what kids are doing in the cafeteria and on the playground? They're cursing. They're also talking about sex. My daughter came home in 4th grade and asked me a very, very specific sexual question that she heard on the playground. So like these kids are all talking about it, so you can plug your ears and pretend it's not happening,
But it's happening.
and tell your kid not to ask and make them feel bad for asking you. Or you can say, you know what, it's not really age appropriate for you, but you asked, so I'm going to explain it to you, but you're not going to share it with anyone because it's not appropriate to discuss. It's all in the way you frame the conversations. But to not talk about it in this day and age, they will just Google it, and then you will have the FBI at your door because they're going to Google things you don't want them looking at.
And I think oftentimes, too, because I've had my son who's 7 ask me things, and I'm like, where did you hear that?
It's crazy.
And then I'll say, well, what do you think it means? And he'll tell me his version, and I'm like, ooh, that's not anywhere close. But okay, you got this from somebody on the playground, somebody in school, somebody wherever. And so I'll sort of explain it to him in a way that's slightly more appropriate for a 7-year-old and leaving some stuff out, but at least giving him enough. And he'll look at me and he'll be like, oh, I didn't know that. And I'm like, yeah, so we're not going to mention that word again. And like, kind of explain it to him that way. But they toss around words and terms and things that they think that they know that they're talking about. And oftentimes they don't know the real, meaning of it, but they think it's the
Well, because
cool
they look it up on like Urban Dictionary or YouTube Kids or whatever it is, and it's gospel to them.
Yeah.
So if you don't correct it, then you have someone going and spreading false information. And I would just rather correct it and get ahead of it. And it's not easy. It's a very tough it's a very tough spot to be in as a parent, to make that choice.
You had made one comment about filters. Now, I despise filters for dating reasons.
Oh, yeah.
But let's talk about filters in how it can affect children with their body dysmorphia, with the way that they look and see about themselves. You're creating a persona of this perfect looking human being, and all of a sudden, whenever you go somewhere else, like there's going to be disappointment. And so I'm totally against them. Like I understand, like, if you don't like the way you look, it is what it is. Like I guess there's some things you can do. You can ask Sarah what to do. I don't know. I haven't had to do it. She's had to do it.
After she shaves her mustache.
I'll add it to the list.
No, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so what do you think from a parenting standpoint, like, should filters be allowed?
So I hate filters, okay? I don't, the ones that are like funny, like ones that like do something funny to your face or whatever, and I'm very into like self-deprecating humor. So like that stuff, or if I have to record something and I really am a mess and I have to put something up, I'll put like the filter sunglasses on. What drives me crazy is the filters that are altering your physical
Trying to
appearance.
make you look like you really look like that in
Correct.
real life.
It's still you, but you're trying to look different. I have an issue with those. Number one, because like, who are you fooling? Like, I know people in real life who,
Not me.
Yeah, I know people in real life who have filtered their pictures so heavily, not even just with like the generic filters, but like, worked hard probably in Photoshop or something and removed kneecaps and belly buttons and like crazy things to make themselves look skinny or pretty or whatever. Well, when someone sees you in real life and it looks nothing like you, like how are you going to explain that? So I don't get the connect of like, put out there what you want to, I don't know. We all are who we are, and I get the need to want to feel prettier and to look better and whatever. But I do think that when you post things with a filter because you don't like your teeth, you don't like this, like just be you. Just be you. Like I don't want to. If I go on a date with someone and I'm single and I put this filter up where my skin is like flawless
and tan
and everything is perfect and I'm tan,
big eyelashes,
I'm setting myself up for like a bad situation because he's not seeing who I am. I want someone to see me at my worst and be like, oh my God, I can't wait to see her with makeup on.
I think we've gotten to a point, though, where people who, like, followers will gravitate towards the influencers or the people on social media that they can identify with.
Yes.
And most of us at this point, because we've all been on social media long enough that we can tell when somebody is doing a lot of filters. And I think naturally when we see that, we just, I don't want to say discount them because I don't want to take away from all the other stuff that they do. But there's this like level of like,
Au naturel is
I don't
coming
trust
back
you
in.
as much. Or I just, I don't enjoy watching you as much. I don't enjoy watching you as much because you're leading on this like fakeness.
Well, it's duplicitous.
Yes. And
right?
it's just like, show me the person that doesn't have makeup on with their hair like up. And they don't need to look like a ragged person every time, but like, just show me you. If you're going to make me laugh and talking about motherhood and like, or work or whatever it is that you're doing, like, give me who you are.
Well, you're also setting, and you're setting an expectation. So one of my favorite things that I have the opportunity to do because of the brand that I built is I speak every year at the Mother of All Baby Showers, which is a giant event for expectant and new moms and some dads who probably have no idea that what they're getting looped into until they are sitting listening to all of us talk and they're like, why am I here? But the creator of it is local and she's a very good friend of mine now and we're in 6 different markets, a few in Florida. And when I see these mothers and they're first-time moms, and I know that they're scrolling Instagram and they're watching these moms who are like fully dressed with hair and makeup postpartum, and they're, making a full dinner while their kid is strapped to them, I always make a point of saying, if you are following someone on social media who's making you feel less than,
Stop.
you need to unfollow. And it's nothing wrong with them. It's okay, to each his own. But like, you shouldn't have to hold yourself to standards that make you feel like there's something to reach in parenting. Parenting is hard. And if you're not doing it right, then it's easy, right? Like if you think parenting is easy, you are either not checked into your kids or you're not doing enough to help your partner.
I'm assuming you've read Brené Brown.
I love Brené Brown. I mean, she is like...
Sorry if I mispronounced her name.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing. She's amazing. But it's true. Like, I feel like there are some people who crave that filtered vibe, and there are some people who really just want real.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with either one. It's a preference, but I want nothing to do with filters. I don't want people ever to come to my page and be like, oh, I'm going to buy this skin wand she's using because I love my red light therapy wand, and then see me in person and be like, wait a minute, was that a filter? Like, no.
I would say your skin is really impeccable.
Well, thank you. Here's what I was going to say to you. I don't use filters, but I do go to my dermatologist and say, can you please shoot this all up with Dysport and maybe make my lips a little bigger so I don't have to use a filter? So there's a trade-off, right?
But that's what you're going to look like in real life.
That's what I look like in real life. And I am one of those people who I have no problem getting older. I'm going to be 50 in a few years. I don't care, but I still want to feel good, right? I want to like how I look when I look in the mirror. I'm not doing this for you or you or you or even my husband doesn't care. I'm doing it for me because when I get up and get dressed and I don't look like the crypt keeper, I feel good about myself. So if that's like my worst trait and it's vain, then so be it. But I'm certainly not going on Instagram and putting filters, for lip filler and different colored eyes. Like I'm doing who I am.
Yeah, I love it.
Dysport and all.
Dysport and all.
Yep.
I love it. Do you even know what Dysport is?
No.
It's like Botox.
Yeah, it's like Botox.
This is not my world.
It's like Botox. As a matter of fact, my uncle said to me, you don't need it. I go, that's because I have it.
It's holding everything in place.
Right, everything is where it should be. I will be like that. What's that movie with, it's an 80s movie with the women who are addicted to plastic surgery. Death Becomes Her.
Oh,
you see that movie?
So good.
That will be me. That'll be me one day. I'll just be falling apart with my neck will look great. Yeah.
Such a good movie.
I'm a little out of my element. I'm ready in 10 to 15 minutes. That's a shit shower shave, everything there.
Well, but that's also...
So you don't use filters on your dating app?
Nope.
Do you have any fish pictures in your dating apps?
No. No
good.
pictures.
A lot of dog pictures.
Cats?
He's got a lot of dog.
No, it doesn't. No
Boo-boo?
pictures. No. So there's
Boo-boo's the love of his life.
no pictures.
Okay.
It's my dog.
It's his
no
golden.
pictures with shirts off. No gym pictures.
Okay.
Nothing that shows anything monetary. Like I'm not a douchebag.
You know what I didn't understand when I was on it for the 12 hours that I was on? Why do they have a lot of pictures with other women in them? And like
I know,
clearly
right?
not a child, which
Right.
I don't understand that either. Why?
Right.
You could put I have children, but you don't need to put your children in the pictures. But
I don't think children should be on dating apps at all.
I
It
don't
makes
think
me
so
crazy.
either.
Like, you're not pimping out your child.
Right. Say you have children.
Right.
Say I have no interest in having more
Well,
children.
doesn't it ask you on every app, do you have
Yes, it
children?
does.
It's right there.
But
Yeah.
like just women, and they could all be friends, but as somebody that might be thinking about going on a date with you, I'm spending time now looking at the pictures of you with other women and going, is this
this
a
a
girlfriend?
sister?
Is this a sister?
Right.
Is this
Well,
his
no,
best
you
friend?
have to look at multiple So the beauty of multiple pictures is that you might have filters in 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden I get to that one, I go, ha ha, gotcha.
Right.
I go,
Right.
nope.
Right.
To the left you go.
Yep.
And then to boot, the other
the left you
danger,
go.
the danger of
Like a
putting a
dance.
picture with other women is, what if I'm attracted to your friend? I'm like, ooh, I hope it's that one. I go, oh, now
Yeah,
I'm
you're
let
really
down.
like, you shouldn't be posting your friends. Like, post,
Yeah.
it should just,
Unless
your
you're the
friends
hot one
aren't
of all
dating.
your friends, like,
right.
don't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
You are dating, not your friends. Like,
Yeah,
you,
and I would see these pictures with them with like women, and I was like, I mean, I'm assuming that this is not a girlfriend, but still, who is this person? Like, I don't know. It's another layer of.
You have to, I think with dating apps, you have to be willing to like weed through to see if there's anything there for you, because what you said earlier, like I remember when I signed on to Match, at my friends forcing me, please go on Match. You don't even have to date. Just practice flirting again. You've been with the same person for 18 years. Like, you need to like get your mojo back. It was fun till it wasn't, because it gets like I did what you did. I set up my profile, and then all of a sudden it was like I was on The Price is Right, and there was like flashing and dinging and poking and this and that, and I'm like, closing my computer. I can't do this.
The worst part, though, isn't, to me, it's not the encounters and it's the setting up of the profile.
Yeah,
Oh, I apparently
It's
did that in a GIF after a lot of drinks.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
No, for me, it's like,
And it
all right.
worked.
Or like as a thinker, I know not everyone is, but as a thinker, trying to say like, all right, if I write this is how I come across. If I put this picture, this
Maybe
is how I
do
come
the Sarah.
across.
Have a couple drinks.
Yeah.
Fill it out.
Get
Don't
uninhibited.
put too much thought
Don't
into
think.
it. Don't think.
Yep.
Just go in it as a high D.
No, I already did it, and it's working.
You
quite
even
well,
have it
but-
better with the dating apps now, because when I was on Match 12 years ago, it wasn't like Hinge, where I like how Hinge does the like the little prompt. So it's like a little like, what's your ideal date? And it's like a sentence. It's not
Right.
like a whole thing.
The conversation
when I joined Match, it was like long form
Biography.
and I'm like, I don't want to read through this for a bunch of people. So I do like that a lot of the apps have gotten smarter with that, because it's probably easier. We did Dale's dating profile on Hinge a lot. We did it on a podcast. I did it.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be fun.
It was really fun.
I could use a manager.
It was really, really fun.
No. I managed too much already, but we could fill out your app on the show.
I actually got yelled at because I had it on my phone. He didn't want to install it on his phone. So I was like, I'll put it on my phone. You'll do it later. I'll set it up on your phone, give you your password. So I set it up. But what I was doing, because I can't help myself, is I was going in and looking to see, is anyone liking it? What's going on? And he's like, stop, Rachel.
I would totally get him to respond on your behalf. And I probably would get you some really good dates, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So like last night, I was speaking with someone for, I don't know, a couple hours.
The same person?
No, just met her last night.
Texting
I just
on the
got on
phone?
this Sunday.
No, texting on the phone.
No, well, in the app, texting
Okay.
in the app. We did adult and exchanged numbers this morning. She sent me a
the
little
next
voice
step.
note. Yeah, she did. Like right away,
Wow.
first
You're
night.
going to send out save the dates next week.
It's so you wonder hopefully she'll never ever get to listen to this. But the funny thing is, she was talking about wanting to go to Maine, and I said, okay, cool. And so
here we go.
I'm like, where in Maine? I happen to be from Maine, and so she sends me this thing. I'm like, well, it's a really good. It's called the Cliff House. I'm like, I've
been there.
I had my prom there, and I took some pictures with an ex there, and we talked about maybe as a wedding venue there. And I'm like, meanwhile, obviously, I didn't say this to the girl. Like, no, but it's so
Sarah's like,
beautiful
wait.
now. Have you been recently? Like,
No,
since it
no.
was- so
Years ago.
It's renovated and it's all like yachty looking, and they did an amazing job.
Very Maine-like.
Yes, but it does like.
So
but
are you taking her there?
No, we're not. We still have to have date one.
That's date 2, Sarah.
But I will say,
Emmanuel,
like,
it is.
no, what's fun is, so like, they're all different, right? Some don't want to have any conversation. This particular individual was getting a little bit, not too vulnerable, right? So like, don't go batshit crazy and tell me everything that's wrong with you day one. Nobody wants to hear that. But at the same token, like, let me in a little bit, because if you're too squared off and boring, like there's nothing to talk about, so you've got to have a little bit of your fear, a little bit of your likes, a little bit of your dislikes, and don't be so afraid to be judged. It's okay if we're not meant to be together. Like, it's just another swipe.
Right.
This finger's trained.
To the left
it's ready
for you.
to go.
Yeah.
Do you ever look at what they do for a living?
Of course.
Okay. Because,
yeah, so you have to.
No, I agree.
I look at how far they are. I don't care about the money.
No, but I'm just saying their job could kind of explain a lot of why their answers are the way that they are.
If they're divorced, right?
That doesn't necessarily say it, though.
No, but I mean, you don't know that. I'm saying if they're divorced, when they're talking to you and answering questions, they may have been with the same person for such a long time that they don't know how to talk to another human. Like, legitimately, that is a thing. I mean, it is, I'm pretty confident, but I still have nightmares about social interactions I had when I was newly single and things I said. And it's like, what's her name from Dirty Dancing? She's like, I carry the watermelon. I have so many of those moments in my head of things I said when I was just out of the gate trying to
It's also why you're divorced. What if it's also why you're divorced? Like in terms of that person, we all bring whatever our last relationship was to the next one, right?
Sure.
You got cheated on and you're on a dating app. It's not so easy to trust.
Right.
That person is going to want to extract a lot more out of the conversation.
Right.
Necessarily before having, kind of like what you discussed. Someone else who feels that they've had their time wasted and for whatever reason spent a bunch of time, they're short. And so like the psychology behind it is you just got to play, you got to be a chameleon.
Yeah.
You just got to, all right.
You do.
If you want to go out, hey, listen, I don't need to have a conversation. If I find you attractive, we can go have a drink. I'm not taking you to dinner because I want to be able to have a one drink.
Because you are not worth a steak at New York Prime, okay?
Not meaning that, but I want an exit strategy.
I get it.
If I don't,
Well, a lot of people don't do dinners now. From what I hear, they do coffee or whatever because they don't, or they'll say like, let's meet for drinks at the bar. And then if it goes well, they'll say, oh, do you want to have dinner?
Right.
I get that. I think everyone should have an out because nobody wants to be stuck on a bad date. I think the challenge you have with online dating too is that some people are terrible digitally. They are not good texters. They're not good at expressing themselves. But if you sit with them in person, it's like a different person. And you never know that until you take that chance. And I think that's a complicated part about online dating. No one, as a woman, I wouldn't want to give a vulnerable story to someone that I might have just met thinking that he's talking to 15 other girls and why am I going this far now? Like, let's wait till we're in person and we'll see if we jive. Yeah. So I think there's so many layers to it that make it complicated and I think you just have to have fun with it and not...
It's not easy to be funny texting either.
No, it's not.
Sarcasm, I'm not if you're going to be witty and have banter and things like that, that's a lot harder to do.
Well, there's no tone in text, right?
Yes.
Or you could take it the wrong way.
Right.
And I think that in person is always best, but it's hard to decide if you want to take it to that level with someone. If they don't do it for you, if something doesn't spark your interest, you don't want to force it.
You're just blah, 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 next.
Right. Or I remember when I was on Match for, I think I was literally on there for 72 hours. But there was a guy who asked me to go out and I said, sure. And then my plan changed because my ex had to do something. I had to take my daughter and I was like, I'm so sorry. Can we do Saturday instead of Friday? He got so bent out of shape, which is fine. It's okay. That's his right. But then you're not for me.
No.
Right.
Because my life is going to be crazy because I have a child and everyone looks at things differently. Some people are marriage, relationship first, child first. I am very much mom first. My children come first over my husband, over everyone. So if you're going to have a problem with me switching dates because I have a child, then we are not meant to meet at all. So I think you have to weed people like that out real quick and then kind of see what you're left with and just have fun with it.
I'm reading this book called 1 Million Followers by a guy named Brendan Kane. Mm-hmm. Familiar with this? So he's been around forever. And anyways, in wrapping up, tell us what advice would you give specifically? Let's stick to the real estate industry because that's what we tend to be in more. What do you think is some great advice for them with respect to social media and how to use it in order to create? I mean, for us in the real estate industry to post videos and not get anything of it is just an ego play. Mm-hmm. So how do you create an ROI out of it?
So obviously this is coming from a content creator perspective and not having any background in real estate. I think that the magic with social media is it gives you the ability to be visual and not static. And you can have video, you can have reels, you can do all that stuff, which means you can show personality. I think that if you are a realtor who's
Does
just...
a podcast do that?
Yes. I think just showing beautiful homes, which are beautiful, like it's nice to look at. Me personally, I don't follow a lot of realtors unless they are people I know, or unless they're people like you see that you find, for $1 million listing or whatever, because they're funny and it's not just about the house.
Personality. It's not.
It's about the personality and like the antics behind it.
We don't want to either, by the way. We don't have a choice.
Right, but I get it. But and I understand because
it's our business. Right?
It's you have to have a presence, right? If you don't have a presence, there's other people who are going to have it. So you have to have a presence. But I think it's just the trick of showing personality. And I think that's different for everyone. Like maybe you're the silly one. Maybe you're the sarcastic one. Maybe you're the type A one. Like I think you have to find things that are relatable to other people. When I talk about things on my channel that might even be vulnerable for me, like I was just diagnosed with ADHD, which I suspected I had for years. Never went to anyone because I was like, I'm fine. Then I started to not be fine because I couldn't focus. I couldn't write. I couldn't get my life together in ways to like be functional. I was so overwhelmed. When I talk about that stuff, the people across industries who are reaching out on, direct message saying, oh, what medication have you tried? What has worked for you? What this? I feel like the same is to be said for any industry. If you have a realtor who is, has ADHD and is willing to be like self-deprecating about it and is talking about why they love this house because this kitchen is so set up for someone with ADHD, those are the things that I think become relatable versus like, this is a 4-2, 10,000 square feet with a boat slip. Nobody cares unless you're another realtor who speaks that language and is like, oh, I have a client for this. If you're trying
so super specific.
Right. So you're not trying to attract other realtors on social, you're trying to attract buyers. So you have to talk to them like buyers, like real people. They have kids and there's a room in the house or, something that is great for younger children or something that's great because them and their spouse watch different TV shows. Like maybe you have a realtor who goes in with their partner and they're literally laying in bed at night watching different TV in different rooms. And you're like, how you doing, babe? I'm great. Like all those things that sound so silly, those are relatable.
Yeah.
And people relate to others no matter what they're doing, professionally or personally, because of putting themselves out there, not being embarrassed about it, being self-deprecating and being relatable. And I think if you use that same formula within reason for any type of content you create, that's how you attract people. Look at the business accounts that post on Instagram, right? Like just B2B businesses or whatever, they're boring.
Yeah.
Nobody's buying anything. They don't want it.
I love all of it. I've been wanting, we need a little bit more size before we can justify it, but I love the idea of having a social media team.
Oh, yeah.
That follows us everywhere. Every time we're on stage, every time we're in a meeting, tomorrow we have a potluck, turkey like that.
You have FAU down the street who has like 1 million people majoring in communications who are very...
So you would think.
Oh, boy.
So someone has already put out an internship. I literally emailed the woman in charge, I can't remember her name, Eileen something, and someone else. And I said, hey, I literally this morning, I said, this was like 2 weeks ago, we put an internship out through them. I'm like, how does somebody not want to get a start?
Is it paid?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, you're saying of course. Sometimes people expect...
Fair enough. For me, my concept is real simple. Come work with us for a year. Mm-hmm. Build yourself an insane portfolio, show what you did, and then go start your own company. Heck, I'll even fund it for you. Mm-hmm. I'll teach you how to be an entrepreneur, and I'll be your first client.
It's amazing.
It's like a dream come true,
yeah.
I would think, for someone who wants to work and wants to prove themselves. But then again, I'm not in college, so clearly...
No, I think, listen, there are a lot of people...
I do that for my podcast business.
Right? I just don't get it.
I think that it's much easier to have someone doing it for you, whether it's an intern or staff, because your job is not to be on social media. Your job is to be in real estate and to make money and to get clients and to make clients money. Like this is, you should not have, it's like a doctor, right? A doctor should not be, unless they're choosing to, running their social media.
Right.
They should be a doctor.
Right.
And they should let other people do their social media, find their strengths and find things to shine. But yeah, I think that every business should have someone handling social media, even if it's a realtor who doesn't necessarily shine at being a realtor, but maybe they say, hey, I can offer something else here.
So our marketing company does it, but they're not on site. And so for me, like where I think the strength is like, all right, so for me, I'm very regimented with my schedule, right? All right, you have a meeting, boom, boom, go. So now all of a sudden, all right, hey, you need a video. You want me to talk about, what do you want me to talk about? Great. I don't need to rehearse. It's all right here. So I can, how long is it? 1 minute, 30 seconds, whatever it is. Okay, great. Beyond that, get other people involved. Don't just show my personality. I have one style of personality. She's got a different personality. Go around, see the faces, see what we do. Interview homeowners who have closed after. So like I am so on point with you in terms of what you said. Relatability is it's the reason people love reality TV is it's a distraction from what their own hot mess is.
Totally.
And you want to, when you watch trashy TV or you watch some trashy dating show, it makes you feel so good about yourself.
You see, you're like, oh my God, I dated a guy like that. Or, I mean, there's in everyone's story, there's
a connection,
pieces.
there's something, right?
Yes. And I wanted to say one last thing, too, about the social media part. Everyone gets so overwhelmed from the business perspective, what to post on social media. If you're willing to be fun, okay, I can't tell you how many companies, I've seen mortgage companies, I've seen title and loan companies, like companies that you would never think would produce fun social media, insurance companies, they're taking TikTok trends, whether it's a dance trend, a funny trend, pranking your boss, whatever it is. They get tens of thousands of views because that's the stuff people want to see on social media. They don't want to see your, what kind of deal they're getting on a house. They want to see
Tell me about your 30-year fixed pack. It's boring.
But it's right. But it's when you see some of these people's accounts, how does a title company have 50,000 likes where they're pranking their boss? Like how? Because that's what people want to see. And then guess what? People, they do it more often. They're like, I'm going to follow this title agency because they seem really fun.
Flashes of business stuff, but you make it more relatable.
Correct.
But are they converting?
But you don't know until the thing with social media is that you don't convert right away. Sometimes it could take you 6 months to build an audience. It could take you 2 years to build an audience.
Right. But for our end, it doesn't matter if I have 100,000 followers. If it doesn't translate into buyers or agents. I feel like it would be
impossible to have 100,000 followers that are interacting with you, liking, commenting, us commenting back, or whoever's managing it, and agents are not picking up on the fact that they want to work with us, and or at least buyers in this area that are local to us, at the very least, are going, oh, I need a mortgage. Oh, let me call that Choice Mortgage that I follow. Like,
but
it would just become natural.
That's exactly how it doesn't work, Sarah.
But social media...
Nobody calls Choice Mortgage. The way social media, when you're so here's where a personal brand versus a company brand, this is the decision that we have to make when that happens. I don't have time to do the Emmanuel brand, right? The company brand, yes, we do, but people don't call the companies like us unless you're a Rocket Mortgage that has zero face other than Jay Farner, and I'm here at Rocket Mortgage. Outside of his ads, that's the only company I know that in the mortgage world that people would call. What you would do is you would call an individual you like. You might see an individual loan officer who's going out there and doing the TikTok trends. So now you have that person. There's a direct connection. But from a company standpoint, that's where, so for me, when I think social media, I don't know that we're ever going to get consumers to do it. Brand awareness, I think, is easy to do. That works really well. I think credibility, so now, whereas for me, recruiting, I think, is a big component of, I reached out to you. Part of you, before coming on here, you go, you do your research, and then that's something you would look at. Now all of a sudden you're looking at, so that's not a direct, it's very difficult to defend spending money when you can't see it coming back that way. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Of course it does. Of course it does. And I think this actually tracks back to my PR days when literally I got on Facebook at 30 years old because we were ramping up social media for clients for the first time. You have to set your expectations to know that this is not an old school ROI play. It's a long game because you may not make money from it, but you may get recruits from it. You may end up on the news because one of your things goes viral and they say, oh my God, so there's all these things you don't expect. And social media.
You may get invited to a panel. You may get invited to speak somewhere. You may get invited.
I get it.
And social media is free, right? Social media is free. Social media at its core is free. Sure, you could boost for
paid ads and all
but
that stuff,
if you are just posting on social media for free, you're putting content out there for free. People are viewing it for free, and maybe there's sometimes you can't harp on the ROI because maybe that's not how you get your sales. Maybe it's just part of your bigger marketing strategy because you can't not have a presence on social media. I think it's about expectations. I think I meet a lot of people in many businesses because it is much harder on the business side than the personal brand. It is. There's no question. But I meet businesses that are so unreasonable all the time because I still have clients that I write for from my old world. And they're like, why is my YouTube so small? Why can't I get YouTube? And I'm like, well, because what you're posting is boring and nobody wants to see it, but I'm going to continue posting it for you because you need a presence. Sometimes social media is not the end to what you need to get, but it has to be part of the play.
I think it'd be a great opportunity. Like if I had a good personality and like I was a business development person, like I think this would be a great thing for me to do. I just can't be scared of doing videos every day.
Right, you can't.
Right.
You're directly talking about me.
But if you had someone, right, who could get comfortable doing the videos.
I could get comfortable doing the videos. I need content.
But you have to, so you start with the low-hanging fruit.
This is me doing
you
this.
start with the trends. You start with the really funny trends. Like I'm sure you've seen the one where they're like, our boss says that our next raise is based on performance, and there's like a song playing and they're walking into the office dancing, pretending. If you do those things, you humanize an industry that, let's be real, is boring.
I know, that's
right?
what I said.
It's boring. It doesn't mean it's not profitable. It doesn't mean it's not successful. Successful can be boring. So the only way to make it unboring is to do the things that are not real estate related.
Yeah, you can film how early I get in, how late I leave.
You could do a get ready with me to go meet with a client and make it really funny. Like you have to be willing to be, you have to make fun of yourself a little bit. You have
100%.
You have to.
Let's put some stuff together. 2025, here we come.
All right, great. Last time we did this was a podcast. She's like, I don't want to do a podcast.
Look at you now.
Look at me now.
I know.
All right,
Rachel, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you.
Same. Thank you so much for having me. And good luck with I'm going to be watching your social media now and see what happens.
Good. I love that. I like the challenge.
Cheers. Thanks.
Okay, that's enough whining for one day. We are so happy that you could join us today on Stop Whining About Real Estate. So please, not only listen, but subscribe, follow us, download, share, and if you're feeling it, give us a 5-star review. Hey, and if you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email stopwhining@choicemortgage.com. Thanks so much.